Okay, hello again, and welcome to that WNBA podcast with your host, Jan From. This is the podcast where I dive deep into the incredible world of the WNBA. Join us as we celebrate the incredible athletes, thrilling games, and inspiring stories that make women's basketball so special. Whether you're a long-time fan or new to the sport, hopefully I've got you covered with analysis and play interviews and everything around the WNBA. So, yeah, let's tip off. Okay, so today's episode, episode 6 of that WNBA podcast, coming to you weekly. Please remember to subscribe, comment, give it a like, put it out there, and then hopefully I can keep bringing it to you for the foreseeable future. And hopefully we can interact, build a community, and talk about how great women's basketball and women's sport is. So, yeah, keep giving it a like, giving it a listen around on all your podcast platforms, wherever you get your podcasts from. Follow me on social media, on X, on Instagram, at that WNBA podcast. Alrighty, so today's going to be a bit of a shorter episode. Basically, we're going to be talking about the Olympics, giving a bit of an Olympic update. There's not too much to chat about this week, apart from the Olympics. As we know, we're still on the Olympic break when it comes to the WNBA. I also don't want to sit here for too long. I've hurt my back a little bit, so I'm going to make this a little quicker. But yeah, hopefully, we can discuss a few things here and there, and see how long this episode will go for. So I guess I'll start off first of all with the women's side of the Olympic basketball. And when it comes to that, I'm actually incredibly happy with how that's going. It's been incredibly entertaining. And we've got a host of games on tonight. So I'm recording this Wednesday night here in Australia. I just watched the Australian Opals defeat Serbia in the quarterfinals of the women's bracket. And yeah, look, they looked incredible. They won pretty comfortably. They've kind of found their groove. They've worked themselves into the tournament. I told you to start with that. For me, they're probably the second favorite to win the gold medal. And yeah, at the moment they're really looking like it. So if we have a look at tonight's games, so we are up to the quarterfinals. All of those quarterfinals will take place tonight. Australia, like I said, has already played Serbia and won 85-67, so very comfortable, almost 20-point win today. Then we've got Belgium-Spain later on. That's at 8:30 here Australian time, WA time. I'd expect Spain to come out with the win in that one. And then very late to early tomorrow morning here, we have France versus Germany and United States versus Nigeria. Nigeria did beat Australia in their first group game. There was a little bit of an upset, but I'm expecting the States to win comfortably and go through to that to the semi-final, of course, and have a chance to play for a medal. France, Germany. I want to go with Germany on that one. Obviously, I've talked about it before, Australia and Germany being my home countries. I'm hoping they do well. I've given kind of Germany the underdog tag with Satu. She's played really well. She had a 30-point game. She's been incredible. And for a country that's at their first ever Olympics on the women's side of the bracket, it's quite incredible. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how those games pan out. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. Talking about the past games, obviously we know who is in the quarterfinals now, but there were some interesting games over the last few days or so. Obviously, that does include the men's side of the bracket, which we'll talk about in a second. Australia beat France in their group game earlier in the week. their last group game. That was a win or go home kind of game, and they won that one, which was good. So that's why they were through to the quarterfinals. Nigeria beat Canada, which to me was a little bit of a surprise. Serbia quite comfortably beat their opponent, I believe, and an important one, I think, in terms of the brackets and in terms of the competition is that the United States beat Germany quite comfortably in their first matchup and their last matchup of their group stage, 87-86. So that was the last game. The US, of course, swept their group stage games. They won really comfortably in most of them, and they have such a strong squad you wouldn't expect to otherwise. I think Germany, now that they've found their feet a little bit, I think if they played the US again, or if they made it through to the semi-finals, I think they'll have a much better chance of winning those games now that they've been tested. In that game, Sarju didn't have her best shooting night. She went 6 from 18, 33% from the floor. She shot 3 of 8 from 3, but only 3 of 10 from the 2-point range. So I can imagine that she was guarded quite closely. It was on way too late for me to watch here. So, look, not the greatest. Her sister, Niara Sabali, didn't play. So I'm not sure if she'll be back for this quarterfinal matchup, but we'll see with that one, I suppose. Apart from that, the scoring was shared pretty equally between the starters. They were all kind of on the edge of double figures or just over. In terms of the USA, of course, again, your regular stars played incredible. We had Asia with 14 points. We had Brianna Stewart with 13, Jackie Young with 19. Sabrina had 6, Kelsey had 6. Just an all-around effort from their stars as per usual. So, look, I don't think there's very much more to that one that we're going to talk about. I've got some more interesting WNBA or Women's Olympic basketball news when it comes to a different type of basketball, but we'll move on to that in a little while. We also, of course, had the men's games. So in terms of the men, also very interesting competition. I think I'm enjoying the women's more at the moment. The men, we had a bit of an upset with Australia losing to Serbia. Whether or not you call it an upset is kind of up to you. I know that Australia weren't favoured in that sense because of Nikola Jokic, of course, the reigning MVP and now 3-time MVP in the NBA, an incredible player. But Australia came out really strong. They came out firing. They were about 20 points up at one stage. I just thought, look, we can't really lose it from here, can we? We did. Patty Mills showed out again when he wears that Olympic uniform. He's just a completely different player. He's on a completely different level. Absolutely love Patty Mills. He sent the game to overtime, but then they lost by 5. So Patty Mills, that was his last Olympics for Australia. It was kind of disappointing to go out that way. But Serbia, I think with that effort, deservedly go through. So I think the biggest Olympic comeback in the basketball. And yeah, really, really impressive. So that was one side of things. Australia then Germany also played, and they were very impressive. They are looking incredibly put together. They were also quite far down. I think they were 12 points down at one stage. Ended up winning by 13. Dennis Schroeder hit a logo 3. That was incredible. The Wagner brothers are just amazing at the moment, especially when they play for their country. It was a really entertaining game. It's a bit of a disappointment for Giannis to go out that early in the competition, but really, apart from him, Greece doesn't have a lot there on that team. So yeah, that was really entertaining to watch. So Australia out of the World Cup, Greece out of the Olympics, and Germany through to play tomorrow in the first men's semi-final against France. I actually would expect Germany to win. They're the defending world champions. I've got them as second favourites as well here in the men's side of the competition, whereas I have the Australian women as second favourites behind the States, keeping in mind that the States are favourites, of course, to win gold in both these competitions. I think the German men have incredible potential. They're playing their best the country's ever played, better than the Dirk Nowitzki era. They're playing really nice, fast-paced basketball. They're sharing the ball. They're coming off that World Cup victory, and I really think they could give the US some problems if they do make it through to that final. France, though, is not going to be an easy opponent, of course. You've got Wemby, but they did bench Rudy Gobert, so maybe Germany can take advantage of that. Keep the ball kind of a bit out of the paint and away from Wemby, kind of drag him out a little bit. You've got Mo Wagner and stuff that maybe can take a bit of an advantage out of that. And yeah, look, we'll see how that goes. But I expect Germany to win that one. And then obviously I think that the US will beat Serbia in the other semi-final to go through to the gold medal match. So my prediction is that the United States will play Germany in the men's gold medal match, and Serbia will play France for bronze. In terms of the women, I think you're going to have Australia versus the United States, depending on how the bracket works. I would actually have to have a more detailed look at that to see how this bracket is going to go. But I expect that to actually play in the semi-finals. Either way, I think that the United States are favourite to get to the gold medal match and win it. I have Australia second, and then Germany hopefully to get the bronze. So we'll see how that all pans out over the next few days. But look, I think that's the most interesting stuff I can take away from the Olympics at the moment. There's some other news, of course, in the other categories, depending on what you watch. Obviously, we're focused on basketball here. I've also told you about my interest and fascination with the soccer. Obviously, the Matildas losing to the States in that last group game knocked them out because of the amount of goals that they gave away in those first two games, which is very disappointing. I'm not sure if it was a World Cup hangover or what's happened there, but the Matildas are out of the Olympics, which was very disappointing for me. Germany, though, made it through, which I expected. They played the US last night here in Australia time, lost 1-0 in extra time. I actually think that Germany were the better side for most of the game. They didn't dominate the ball as much, but when they went forward, I think they looked a lot better. They looked a lot more dangerous. The States, their best opportunity came in extra time. It was kind of a bit of a just kind of popped out of nowhere. Take that advantage. Take that opportunity out of nowhere. Kind of goal. Really disappointing for the Germans to lose in extra time. I think if it would go on to penalties, there's a good chance that Germany, with their current experience and with their penalty takers, could have taken that home, especially with Anna-Katrina Berger in goal and the way that she was playing. She still also had an incredible game, but yeah, disappointing for them to lose to the States, but the States always have been one of the best teams in the world when it comes to the international soccer. Spain was knocked out by Brazil, which was a bit surprising to me, but now you have a kind of a heartwarming final with Marta and Brazil playing the United States, and Emma Hayes for her first possible gold medal, so in charge of the States. So incredible tournament. It's been really fun. Hopefully Germany can win the bronze. I would expect them to. hopefully beat Spain and get that bronze medal. I expect the States to win the final and get the gold, but we'll see how that goes. In terms of other news, there's been plenty of gold medals, obviously, all around the competition for Australia. There's been the Fox sisters, Naomi and Jess. They've won 3 gold medals, all possible canoe slalom medals available. They're the first sisters ever to win gold medals at an Olympics, and they had more Olympics at the last time of checking than Spain, Brazil, and about 100 other different countries. So really incredible. Australia's doing really well. Obviously, the US are now kind of back on top in the gold medal tally, because that's how the tally works, guys. Not total medals, but gold medals first. In case of a tie, we move to silver and bronze. But yeah, look, it's been incredible. It's been fun to watch. Australian woman, 14, she has won the park skateboarding, which was incredible to see. She's the youngest gold medalist for Australia ever, at 14 years old. Yeah, it's been incredible to watch the Olympics and all the different events. I'm just talking obviously about the things I'm interested in, because to cover all the Olympic events would be incredibly difficult. And we are obviously a basketball channel and a basketball podcast. But in terms of filling this podcast at the moment with 30 minutes of basketball, I think that's just not possible, especially just focusing on the women's game, because we have that Olympic break. And the basketball tournament really isn't that long in itself. But I've kind of been keeping up with some news on X, sharing some interesting things, some Australian gold medals, some bits of news. Obviously, you can see that Caitlin Clark and the Fever are back in kind of a mini training camp before the season kicks back off again. They seem to be team building, having fun with all their activities. So I expect them to come out and be really good for the rest of the season. I've said that before. I think they'll finish above the Chicago Sky and wrap up that 7th spot in the playoffs. But we can talk about that next week on next week's episode. Moving on. Something that is very exciting, which I've told you last week I don't know a lot about. I haven't had the opportunity to watch much of it just because of the broadcasting here in Australia. The golf, though, I have been able to watch, and I want to watch more of. I love the golf. But this is incredible stuff, and I was really happy for the German ladies who took home the gold medal in the 3x3 basketball. Can you imagine? So the US women's team did not win the 3x3 basketball. They are the defending champions. They have an incredible team. They sadly missed Cameron Brink this tournament, but they have Hailey Van Lith, really great upcoming college star. They've got some great players on that team. And it seems really exciting, but Germany actually won the gold medal. Dirk Nowitzki was there celebrating. It was an incredible sight to see. The US, though, still came home with bronze. Hailey Van Lith talked about how Kobe and that kind of Mamba mentality factored into them winning the bronze, because they actually lost in overtime in their semi-final, so they could have played in that final for the gold medal. And Hailey Lith said, "Look, I'm not going to let us lose this game in the bronze medal match." So that was really incredible. I think I've got the stats here. So Hailey Van Lith had 6 points. US won 16-13 against Canada in that game. And yeah, honestly, she really dominated that game. She had a couple of rebounds as well. And yeah, she's just incredible when it comes to this 3-on-3 basketball, which I'm endeavoring to understand more about. I haven't been able to watch a lot of it, but it looks really fun. It looks like a bit of an alternative to the traditional basketball, if you're maybe not as much of a fan of watching people run around a hard court for 40 odd minutes. So I think it's really exciting. It was really good to see that Germany won that one. Obviously, close to my heart. But yeah, incredible to watch. Apart from that, what else have we got? We had not much in terms of WNBA news. I'm still waiting on my Caitlin Clark Fever jersey. Should be here by the end of the month, so I'm really excited for that. I'm constantly looking to expand my collection when it comes to women's basketball things. I've got a lot of basketball stuff. I did buy another pair of Sabrina 2s in the red colorway, the US Olympic colorway, and called the United colorway, essentially. And they're incredible. They're so beautiful. Absolutely love them. Can't wait to wear them out more. And yeah, what else have we got? Look, I don't think there's much more I can say. I could go into a bit of more depth about the US women's basketball team, the way they're playing at the moment. But I think everyone knows that they've got incredible players. I don't want to dive too deep into the statistics and into the nitty gritty of that playmaking. We know that they transition very well. Alyssa Thomas, I think, has been a bit of a spark. Sabrina, obviously, incredible player. Her shot making, her 3-point shooting, I think is something that really stands out for that team and something that really helps someone like Aja Wilson and Brianna Stewart to create more space and flourish. Yeah, I mean, it's been quite good. Sabrina's been shooting 44.4% from three. Jackie Young's been defending really well, so it's it's interesting to watch. We'll see what happens tonight to see who's playing in the semi-finals. But yeah, I think that's about it from me this week, guys. I know maybe not the most exciting episode, a little bit shorter, not too much to talk about. I still wanted to put a podcast out. And yeah, look, I love talking about this sport. Let me know if you want me to cover some different sports. I can always make another podcast. I can make another channel. I can report on some different things. I can do pop culture. I can do anything you really you're looking for, you're interested in, that you maybe value my opinion on. I really love all things movies, TVs, pop culture, any sort of sport, and maybe on slower weeks like this one, when it comes to women's basketball, maybe we can kind of dive into some different topics. Maybe some viewer questions. If you want to get involved, leave some comments. I can answer some questions. We can dive into some different sports. Yeah, anything like that, I'm really keen to do. So let me know what you want to do, what you want to hear about from me. Remembering that I've played a lot of sport. I've watched a lot of sport. I've been involved closely with different people that have played at fairly high levels of sport. So I kind of know what goes into it, even without being too entrenched in the field. Obviously, being in Australia, it's not as possible to kind of to get down that career pathway and kind of get in and around the action. But I think, look, I think my knowledge is unique. I think I can hopefully explain a lot of these things in some more layman's terms and a bit of an easier version to most people than if you were to go onto a specialized podcast that just talks about stats and efficiency ratings and higher end stats that kind of basketball analysts use and GMs use to kind of build their team and to analyze who they want to trade for, because really that's something that the ordinary person's probably not interested in, probably doesn't have the time for, and probably doesn't have the use for either. So I really think that I want to talk to you guys about everyday things. We can dive into statistics. I want to bring my knowledge across. Obviously, this podcast, not as much has been happening. But yeah, I want to keep it kind of relatable. I want to keep it open to those of you that are maybe newer to the sport, that don't have as deep of an understanding. Hopefully I can help you learn and understand more of the game. Hopefully, if you've got questions, I can help you out with different aspects of the game. And yeah, look, we'll go from here, and I'll see you all next week. So just remember to subscribe, to like the podcast, to leave a review, to leave a comment, to get involved. Hopefully, we can build a community where we can discuss women's basketball and the WNBA with each other openly, and have fun doing so, and create a bit of a community. And yeah, hopefully, I will see you all next week on another episode of that WNBA podcast.